Manifest has done its fair share of entertaining for 3 seasons now, which gives fans plenty of face time with each character. While every fan has their favorite characters, every show has characters that are destined to be unlikable, whether through character development or poor writing. This is a list of Manifest's most loved and hated characters. First, let's start with Ben Stone. While there's no major reason to hate Ben, he still just comes across as annoying. He's doing everything he can to keep everyone on track, especially seeing how he's the leader of the Return now. He definitely gives off Rick Grimes vibes, and definitely more Rick after he went crazy and frantic. Ben comes across as though he feels like he's the chosen one, when in reality he's just another character along for the ride. Next we have Cal Stone. Cal is the perfect example of a love-hate relationship with a character. Following his backstory of miraculously surviving cancer automatically made him the perfect candidate for a likable character, but he never really played the part. The more that his visions made him confront his own storyline made him a non-likable character as the story continued, but his character interaction with others, mainly his sister, makes him the perfect option for a character you just can't hate. He's reliable and it's always a voice of reason, even when there's no one else. Next is Zeke London. While he was introduced as a character that was made for soap opera love triangles, fans weren't quite sure what side of the fence they were on with Zeke. The more the show continues, the more they realize that Zeke really is the perfect match for Michaela. The progression of the relationship has made Zeke an endearing character for the fans to look forward to, and some fans are concerned that too much of a good thing is a bad thing though, and they're waiting for the other shoe to drop with Zeke. While Zeke is a lovable character, he hasn't quite earned the trust of fans just yet. Next we have Drea Mikami. Drea is literally the image of a perfect friend. Drea is one of those characters that you can trust to be who she says she is, and does what she says she'll do. Her nonchalant way of going about things makes her the perfect person to get the answers to the questions the group needs without ruffling any feathers. There isn't a thing Drea wouldn't do for friends, and her funny personality automatically makes her likable to the characters around her and the fans watching. She's easily one of the most likable characters on the show. Next we have Grace Stone. Grace has all the qualities that most people wish they saw in themselves. Even after everything she's been through during After 5 Days, The Return, We're Gone, she has still the resiliency and strength to make sure all those that rely on her are taken care of. While her husband was away, she handled being a single mother to a moody teenage girl, and when The Return came back, she made one of the hardest decisions she ever thought she'd have to make. When her husband came back, Grace put an end to an amazing relationship with Danny just to go back to her husband who had returned. For someone like Ben who has taken on the responsibility of leading the Return, she is the perfect companion to have in his corner. Next we have Sanvi Ball. Sanvi Ball has so many attributes going for her, but when it comes to likability, she is really neither here nor there. When you look at everything she brings to the table, you kind of imagine recruiting her for your end of the world survival team though. She's constantly diving into her research and focused on getting answers. Her more recent efforts towards preventing her death date make her the prime candidate for a huge development that could perpetuate her to a villain, a hero, or dead. She's the most diligent one of her colleagues, and while no one in the show dislikes her, they constantly try to remind her that there are other things out there other than research. Sanvi definitely has the potential to be the most likable character, and hopefully they give her character more of a story than just her research at the moment. Next is Jared Vasquez. Jared was never given much to work with when it came to likable storylines or plots. Before the main story started, he was the perfect man who had mourned the loss of his fiance, moved on with her best friend, and had started to rebuild his life. Then his fiance returned with others, which made for some juicy drama in the beginning. For the remainder of the show so far, Jared has literally been written as a good guy playing the villain. While his character has been doing nothing other than to try help others, the writers made him be undercover to do it. While many fans focus on his actions during that time, hopefully soon they'll be able to see that in the long run, Jared just really drew the short end of the stick and made the best out of it. Next is TJ Morrison. TJ is just that likable character that there are no hidden aspects to wonder about. TJ is exactly what he seems to be, the teenage heartthrob. He is the sweet, kind-hearted young man that Olive has a crush on at the airport before the Return disappear. 5 years later, Olive is 5 years older, and TJ has formed a relationship with her that feels genuinely good. While he has no foreign bond with Ben, it's his relationship with Olive that makes him a very likable character that fans were upset about potentially losing earlier on in the show, but like most things on the show, things aren't always as they seem. Next is Adrian. Adrian is your classical normal guy gone supervillain. While most people see their visions for what they are, Adrian believes himself to be some sort of religious leader. He began to gather his supporters and called them the Church of the Return. The Church has caused a lot of problems for the group, and there's no telling what Adrian's real intentions are, but one thing is for sure, Adrian has easily made it to one of our most hated characters of the series. The next entry is probably a close tie for most hated. Angelina is introduced to us in season 3, and she has immediately immediately become one of our least favorite psychopaths in the show. She wasn't introduced as a villain. Initially, anything bad that she did could have just been a product of what her parents had put her through, but eventually she does unspeakable things that just can't be justified. Angelina might just be a lost soul, but she eventually murders one of the best characters on the show, and she steals a baby. She tried her hardest just to fit into Olive's family, and she almost killed the baby by setting a fire. So much can be said for Angela, but it all comes down to the fact that no one initially saw her as the villain she turned out to be. Next is Olive Stone. Olive is that moody teenage girl we mentioned earlier. Now, while most moody teenagers in the supernatural drama either get axed before they can develop or learn something monumental and make them a benevolent being, Olive grew more than we ever expected. She had to deal with the loss of her father and twin brother, then she had to deal with them coming back after 5 years. She's one of the most normal and relatable characters in the show, and she gives the fans something to root for as she embraces her role in everything. While Olive isn't necessarily special, she does everything she can to help save those around her that she cares about deeply. Now we've come to Director Vance. While characters in a position of power are often written to be villains, that doesn't mean that all of them are like that. But in the case of Director Vance, that's exactly, well, what happened. He was portrayed as a potential enemy in the beginning, then fans were upset when he died, but were brought back to his side when they found out he faked it so he could uncover more clues. Director Vance is a power character that everyone wishes all power characters were like. He has the authority to get whatever he needs done, yet he isn't the kind to step all over those close to him to achieve his objectives. At least he hasn't been that way. There's no telling what future is in store for a character that fakes his own death and comes back. And finally, we've come to Michaela Stone. Michaela is literally part of every other character's story, and we can't help but love her. She experienced loss at her own hands early on, then lost her fiance just to gain him back, just to lose him again, fell in love with an addict, then proceeded to almost lose even more people close to her. While most of us haven't experienced loss like that, there's something about her that everyone just connects and emphasizes with. The fact that she keeps pushing forward without knowledge of whether or not it will matter is enough to make anyone love her character and want the best for her. Thanks for watching, take care, we'll see you on the next one.